Hello, this is Joseph Wilcox. I'm currently doing Richard's Unit 7 International Organisations Assignment 2, and this is going to be part 2. So I'm going to be talking about here how human rights may be violated, and talking about how the different international institutions deal with it in order to uphold the human rights. So then, I'm going to be going through violations, how they've violated certain human rights. Some of them are basic, so the first one is quite basic, but I'm then going to talk about how different international institutions deal with those crimes committed and violations of human rights. So I'm getting straight into it. Article 2, which is right to life. Now this is quite obvious. The right to life is that human beings have the right to live, and that they shouldn't be killed by other humans, or shouldn't be killed at all. So in order to violate that, obviously someone would have to be killed. This could be done through war. There could be war crimes committed, so it could just be in the middle of a war zone and there's lives lost. It could be war crimes like the Holocaust, or it could be just everyday killing or stabbing or shooting, which you hear about on the news. All of these are of course bad and illegal, as well as breaking the first human right, which is the right to life. So then, the UN, it tries to protect all life and does peacekeeping all around the world in order to try and prevent lives from being lost. So what they would do is, if it was just a one-off killing, then they would not really do much about it. A few more killings, they won't really do much about it, or they would start to pop up on their radar. If recurring killings kept on happening all across the world, then they would start imposing sanctions, and they would start putting laws out. And if things got worse and worse, then there would be more police on the street. There would be maybe a curfew put in place if it got really bad. And certain things would be done by the UN to try and prevent the loss of life. So then, the EU tries to make peace all over Europe. So if it was a war crime, then they would deal with the war crime, and they would then have a big court case over it to determine what was wrong, when it was wrong, how they got away with it, and all of this is basically punishing the people for their crimes, whilst also alerting the EU to where the problems are and where things could go wrong in future. So then this, the EU makes it all over Europe, so they would mainly be involved if it was anything to do with Europe. The rest of the world, they may still get involved if it's got a likelihood of affecting Europe, but if not, they wouldn't really do that much unless it was Europe. And once again, it'd have to be a bigger scale, not just a one-off killing. So NATO would be involved in this, as if it was stuff like killings across the world by, say, a terrorist group, say Al Qaeda or ISIS are doing murdering people and killing people. Then NATO would go over there, working together, obviously, between the countries to try and cut that out and prevent the loss of life. In doing this, they would also be their peacekeeping for talks, as they would be trying to bring in sanctions which would help prevent killings if they kept on happening. If it is a terrorist group, they might see the best way to prevent more killings is to deal with the terrorist group by destroying them or destroying their ideology. So then the Red Cross also comes into this, is because they provide medical aid to people everywhere in the world. So basically, they're preventing further loss of life, preventing people from dying. So they would come into the right to life, as they actually aid the right to life. They help it and give a better chance of surviving from war, injuries, or sickness, or bad health, or natural disasters, things like that. So then the European Court of Human Rights, they're the ones who make the rights. So people aren't allowed to be killed. That's one of the rights that they make, which is right to life. The way that they would go about it is they would start bringing in extra human rights. If this one wasn't being listened to, they would start expanding what they mean, and then they would basically go around different countries making sure that they are actually abiding by those human rights. So then the World Bank, it helps countries in poverty. So this is preventing loss of life. So it's actually aiding the right to life, because it basically in countries where there's poverty and starvation, they try and improve people's lives and thus saving lives. They would give the country a loan with probably no very low interest return rate, or no interest return rate. So then Amnesty International. So this stops people from being wrongly imprisoned in foreign countries. So it also prevents sentencing like death penalty, which used to be about, because it prevents people from going there, prevents people from being imprisoned with the possible sentencing of death penalty in foreign countries where that still exists. So then, Article 3, freedom of torture or inhumane or degrading treatment. So this is basically no one should be subject to torture or cruel treatment. This speaks for itself, really. So you can't be tested on for scientific or medical tests without consent. You shouldn't have punishment or degrading treatment towards you, or torture or cruel behaviour towards you. So the way that this could be violated is just simple torture. If you're being held in slavery or held against your will, and being made to do things that you don't want to, or being harmed, then this comes under torture, and that the EU then would the UN would then get involved to cut out the problems, and they would be going into the country to make sure that there isn't any punishment, to make sure that there's punishment for